The office clock ticked loudly in Amara Williams's ears, though no one else seemed to notice it. Every second that passed made her shoulders tighter, her heart heavier. She sat stiffly at her desk, trying to make sense of legal documents on the glowing screen in front of her while stealing glances at the small figure curled up in a chair beside her desk. Her 5-year-old son, Liam, sat coloring quietly with his tongue peeking out the corner of his mouth in deep concentration. His crayon box lay open, pages scattered like fallen leaves. He was doing everything she asked, staying quiet, keeping to himself, not interrupting anyone. But Amara still felt like she had a spotlight shining directly on her. She could feel the stares. She could hear the fake coughs and whispered gossip every time someone passed by. Is that her kid again? Third time this month. Why doesn't she just get a sitter? They didn't know. They didn't see her juggling daycare fees with rent, groceries with electricity bills. They didn't hear her calling the babysitter at 6 a.m. only to be told, "Sorry, can't make it today." They didn't watch her beg her ex-husband to take Liam for just one day, only to be met with silence or excuses. So, she brought him here. Again. It wasn't professional. She knew that, but what choice did she have? She wasn't late. She wasn't slacking. She was getting her work done and her son was being more respectful than half the people in the office. Still, it didn't matter. Amara, a cold voice called from behind her. She turned. Mr. Cullen, the floor manager, stood with his hands clasped tightly behind his back. His jaw was locked, his eyes impatient. In my office, now. She stood quickly, smoothing out her wrinkled blouse. Yes, sir. She bent down and whispered to Liam, stay right here, okay sweetheart. Mommy will be right back. He nodded and gave her a small smile. I'm coloring the sun now. That's great, baby. With her heart thudding, she followed Cullen to his glass-walled office. Once inside, he didn't even gesture for her to sit. He remained standing, turning to face her with a blank expression. Amara, this is the third time you've brought your child to work in the past month. I know, and I'm really sorry, sir. I had no one to watch him this morning, but he's very quiet. He hasn't disturbed anyone. He raised a hand to silence her. This is a legal office, not a childcare center. I understand that, but you're an excellent worker, Amara. No one's questioning your performance. But professionalism matters. Image matters. We can't have clients walking in and seeing children running around. Liam wasn't running around, she said softly, trying not to sound defensive. He's been sitting quietly in the corner with his crayons. Cullen sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose like she was giving him a headache. Regardless, I've had 3 complaints from coworkers today alone. It's becoming a distraction. I have no family nearby. I don't have a support system. I'm trying my best. I'm sure you are. He cut her off coldly, but this company isn't responsible for your personal circumstances. She stared at him. Are you firing me? He didn't flinch. Effective immediately. We'll pay you for the week, and HR will send your final paperwork. For a moment, everything went silent. The whir of the air conditioner, the soft hum of phones ringing in the distance, none of it registered. Her ears rang with the sudden emptiness of what he had just said. Fired. Just like that, her lips trembled. Please, Mr. Cullen, I need this job. I have rent due next week. I've never missed a deadline, never taken a sick day, It's not up for debate, he said flatly. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away fiercely. She wouldn't cry here, not in front of him. Not in this cold, glass room where everything felt expensive and merciless. Without another word, she turned and walked out. She gathered Liam's drawings and helped him back into his coat. Are we going home? He asked innocently. She forced a smile. Yes, baby, we're going home. As she took his hand and walked through the rows of silent desks, no one met her eyes. The same people who complimented her research, who laughed at her jokes during lunch, now sat frozen, their eyes glued to their screens. The elevator doors closed behind her with a dull thud. Liam leaned against her leg, holding her tightly. Did I do something wrong, Mommy? He whispered. She knelt down and hugged him fiercely. No, sweetheart, you did everything right. The cafe smelled of roasted beans and warm croissants, but none of it comforted Amara. She sat in the farthest booth, a chipped coffee cup cooling beside her untouched sandwich. Her phone screen glowed with job listings, most of which she had already applied to. The rejections were starting to pile up like unpaid bills. Liam sat across from her, swinging his legs and humming softly while doodling on napkins with a borrowed pen. His innocent smile hadn't faded, but she could tell he knew something wasn't right. Even at 5 years old, children notice things, especially tension in their mother's eyes. Her stomach twisted again with the same guilt that haunted her every day. She hadn't told him the full truth. Just that she no longer worked at the office. That they were on a long break. That things would be better soon. But when, and how? The doorbell above the cafe jingled as a man in a deep blue suit walked in. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a neat beard and a confident air about him. His eyes scanned the room before landing on her. He paused for a second, then began walking straight toward her table. Amara looked up in confusion as he stopped in front of her booth. "Excuse me," he said, voice gentle. "Are you Amara Williams?" She hesitated. "Yes." He offered a friendly smile and extended his hand. "Daniel Ruiz. I'm the new managing partner at Clarkson & Moore. I just officially started this week." Her heart skipped. The Clarkson & Moore, her old firm. She slowly shook his hand. "I used to work there." "I know," he said kindly. "I read your file. I also heard what happened to you." A chill ran down her spine. She straightened up. "Look, if you're here on behalf of them, I already signed the severance." No, Daniel interrupted gently. "I'm not here to make things worse. Quite the opposite, actually." He glanced at Liam, who peeked up from his napkin masterpiece and offered a shy wave. Daniel's expression softened. "He's your son?" he asked. "Yes. His name's Liam. He reminds me of someone," Daniel said thoughtfully. Then he looked back at her, and there was something raw in his eyes. "Me?" Amara blinked. "I don't understand." Daniel pulled out the chair across from her. "May I?" She nodded slowly. He sat, resting his briefcase beside the booth. "When I was Liam's age, my mom worked nights cleaning offices. She didn't have anyone to leave me with. So sometimes, she took me with her. I remember sitting under desks, coloring while she vacuumed floors and emptied trash bins." He let out a soft chuckle, but it was tinged with nostalgia. "She was exhausted all the time. But she never complained. People looked at her like she was lesser, like she was a problem. But she gave me everything she could." Amara didn't realize her eyes had filled with tears until she blinked. "That sounds like her. Like what I'm trying to do for him." Daniel nodded. "When I read what happened to you, getting fired because you brought your son in, I couldn't stay silent. Not when that could have been my mother." She shook her head slowly. "Most people don't care. They think being a parent is a burden that doesn't belong in the workplace." He leaned forward. "They're wrong, and I want to change that." She looked at him carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm offering you a job." Amara stared at him. "I've reviewed your past projects. Your research, your work ethic, even how you handled stress during the Jenkins case. You're exactly the kind of professional I want on my team." Her voice trembled. "Even after what happened?" He nodded. "Especially after. You made a hard choice and still showed up and did your job better than most." She swallowed hard. "But what about Liam? I still don't have childcare. And I won't bring him to the office again, I promise. You don't have to promise that," Daniel said. "Because we're launching an on-site childcare pilot at the firm. You'd be helping me design it." Amara was speechless. Liam leaned over the table, beaming. "Mommy, you got a job." Daniel smiled. "She sure did. And you get to color with other kids while she's working." Amara laughed through her tears. For the first time in weeks, her shoulders relaxed. "Why me?" she whispered. Daniel looked her in the eye. "Because I was that kid. And if someone hadn't given my mom a chance, I wouldn't be here." 3 months later, Amara walked into the newly renovated office building. But this time, she wasn't an assistant tiptoeing to avoid being noticed. She was a program coordinator, and one of the key minds behind the firm's family support initiative. The childcare center had its own wing now. Bright, friendly, filled with books, toys, and kind staff. Liam was already sitting with 2 other kids, building a spaceship with blocks. "Go on, buddy," she whispered to him. "You'll come get me later. Always." She turned and made her way to her office. Yes, her office. The nameplate on the door read Amara Williams, Family Support Program Coordinator. She paused for a moment, touched the doorframe, and stepped inside. Daniel walked by with a cup of coffee. "First day nerves." She laughed. "Not anymore." He smiled. "You remind me of her." "Your mom." He nodded. "She never saw me make partner. But she'd be proud of this." "I'm proud of it too. And grateful. You earned this, Amara. Don't ever forget that." She looked out the window as the city buzzed beyond. A few months ago, she'd walked out of a cold office holding her son's hand and thinking it was all over. Today, she walked into a brighter one, knowing it was only the beginning. And her son, he wasn't a problem, he was her reason. Amara's journey began with heartbreak, losing her job not because she failed to perform, but because she dared to be a mother in a world that often expects working women to choose between their child and their career. She faced judgment, isolation, and dismissal simply for doing the best she could with what life had handed her. But what started as a fall quickly turned into an unexpected rise, thanks to one person who didn't just see her struggle, he recognized himself in it. Daniel Ruiz, now a powerful partner, had once been the quiet little boy sitting in the corner of an office, just like Liam. Instead of turning away, he extended his hand, not out of pity, but from empathy, respect, and a deep understanding of the resilience it takes to survive as both a parent and a professional. In the end, Amara didn't just get her job back. She helped spark a movement within the firm that valued compassion, inclusion, and the real lives behind every employee. Her son wasn't an obstacle, he was the reason change happened. The story closed not with an ending, but with a beginning of a new chapter where being a mother wasn't a liability, but a strength. Where one act of kindness and recognition rewrote the future for more than just one family. And where the kid in the corner became the boss who made space for all the others.